come from the moment you decide to trust yourself, unapologetically. One move. That's all it takes. Self-confidence is not a trait you're born with. It's a weapon you choose to carry. And if you're listening to this, consider this your wake-up call. Let that sink in for a second. Most people walk around like borrowed versions of someone else, living for the likes, starving for compliments, adjusting themselves constantly just to fit into someone else's comfort zone. But the truth? The day you stop begging for approval is the day you unlock your power. That's when your real confidence is born, not the fake kind that comes with filters and followers, but the kind that's felt, even in silence. Think about this. How many times have you changed your outfit because you thought someone else might not like it? You were feeling yourself in that bold red dress or that fierce jacket until a little voice said, "What will they think?" So you swapped it out for something safer, something smaller, something that blended in. And you walked out the door, not as yourself, but as a muted version of what the world taught you to be. That's not confidence. That's conformity dressed up as politeness. Real confidence begins when you stop editing yourself for people who don't even know your story. When you realize, I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to live. A woman walks into a boardroom with a pitch that could change the game. But before she opens her mouth, she's scanning the room, wondering if the men in suits will take her seriously. Wondering if her voice is too loud, her presence too bold. So she shrinks, speaks softer, bends her ideas. And guess what? The pitch fails not because it wasn't brilliant, but because she diluted it for approval. Now imagine that same woman walks in, looks each person in the eye and speaks like she's already got the deal. Like she doesn't care if they approve because she approves of herself. That's the kind of woman who changes the room, not just the conversation. You don't need to be the prettiest or the smartest or the most liked. You need to be the most unapologetically you. That's the version of you the world's waiting for. And you know what's funny? The moment you stop seeking validation is the moment people start giving it to you without asking. Because nothing is more magnetic than someone who doesn't need your applause to feel valuable. You think the girl dancing alone at a party looks crazy? Maybe. Or maybe she's the only one who's free. Everyone else is holding in their laugh, fixing their posture, waiting for someone to pull them in. But she said, I don't need an invite to feel alive. And that confidence, that's the kind that moves energy. Let me give you one more example. Personal and raw. Imagine standing in front of your family and saying, this is the career I'm choosing. This is who I love. This is who I am. Knowing damn well they may not approve, but doing it anyway. That right there is the scariest and most liberating kind of confidence. The kind that breaks chains. The kind that says, I wasn't born to live your version of happiness. I have my own. Approval is a drug. It feels good until you become addicted. Confidence is the cure. It may burn at first, but it heals you. It returns your power. So stop adjusting your volume for rooms that weren't built for your voice. Stop waiting for someone to clap before you celebrate yourself. You don't need to be chosen. You need to choose yourself. Because confidence doesn't start when people believe in you. It starts when you believe in yourself, even when no one else does. Speak like you deserve to be heard, not like you're asking for permission, Not like your words are optional background noise, but like every syllable coming out of your mouth carries weight, value, and fire. Because it does. But here's the truth. They won't hear you if you don't sound like you believe yourself. If your voice comes with an apology, the world will treat you like an afterthought. You've seen it before. In classrooms, offices, even at family dinners. A woman raises a hand, offers a brilliant idea, but her tone is hesitant. Her words wrapped in, I think, I'm not sure, sorry, just to add. And guess what happens? Her words get stepped on, passed over, or worse, stolen and repeated louder by someone else, who gets all the credit. Why? Not because she wasn't smart, but because she didn't own her voice. You don't need to be the loudest in the room. You just need to be the one who speaks like her words are gold, like her truth matters, like silence should make room when she enters. That's power. Think of a courtroom. The difference between the lawyer who wins and the one who loses isn't just evidence, it's conviction. One stands up, voice steady, eyes locked, and says, ladies and gentlemen, here is the truth. The other stumbles, second guesses, mumbles. Confidence doesn't just speak, it commands. And it starts with how you speak to yourself. Because if your inner voice is always doubting, second guessing, criticizing, how do you expect your outer voice to roar? Here's a daily life moment we all know. You're at a cafe and your coffee order is wrong. You paid for it, but you hesitate to say something. Why? Because you don't want to cause trouble. You think standing up for yourself makes you difficult, but no. Standing up for yourself makes you visible. It makes you real. Speak like your needs matter. Because they do. Now let's go deeper. Let's talk about relationships. Ever sat in front of someone you love and bitten your tongue because you didn't want to upset them? Swallowed your truth just to keep the peace? That silence may feel like strength, but it's erosion of your worth, your identity, your spirit. You want to be respected? Speak the uncomfortable truth. With calm, with clarity, with class. Saying this hurt me or this doesn't align with my value isn't confrontation, it's self-respect with a voice. Think of all the times you stayed silent in meetings, didn't correct someone when they mispronounced your name, didn't say no when you wanted to. Each moment you did that, you trained your own soul to believe that its voice didn't matter. Now imagine this. You walk into a room, speak with grace, but steel in your voice. People pause. They listen, not because you're loud, but because you're anchored. Because you speak like your words have gravity. And don't wait for a microphone to start practicing this. Speak like you matter in everyday life. Speak like that in front of the mirror. Speak like that to the cab driver, the barista, the stranger. Every single word is a declaration of who you are. Even your silence should have authority. But when you do speak, let your words cut through noise like diamonds through glass. Let them shimmer with certainty. Because people don't follow the person who talks the most. They follow the one who believes the most in what they say. So drop the fillers, drop the doubt. Drop the tone that says, I hope this is okay. Speak like you are the message. Speak like someone who already knows she deserves to be heard. Walk into rooms like you belong there. Not because someone invited you, not because you ticked all the boxes, but because you decided, I don't need validation. I am the value. That is the mindset that separates those who wait for opportunities from those who own them. The difference isn't luck or talent. It's presence. It's how you walk, how you carry yourself, and most importantly, how you believe in your own worth when no one else does. How are you believing your own worth when no one else does? There's a story behind every strong woman who walks like the ground was built to hold her. She wasn't always that way. There was a time she hesitated at the door, stood at the edge, unsure if she was too much or not enough. But one day, she chose to stop apologizing for the space she takes up. And that was the moment the room shifted for her. You see it every day, don't you? The girl who steps into a job interview looking like she's already part of the company. Not overdressed, not underdressed, but dressed like herself, fully. The handshake is firm, the eye contact doesn't flinch. She doesn't wait for permission to be confident. She brings her own seat to the table. And when she speaks, it's not desperation. It's clarity. It's conviction. She doesn't need to beg to be seen, because she walked in already knowing she was enough. Now let's flip that. How many times have you entered a room and shrunk a little? Changed the way you spoke, sat in a corner, scrolled through your phone so no one would see your nerves. You hope to blend in. But here's the truth. You weren't born to blend in. You were born to stand up and stand out. You don't need to apologize for walking into a room like you have something to offer, because you do. Think about high school reunions. You walk in, heart racing, wondering what people will think. Did you glow up? Did you succeed enough? Will they notice your insecurities? And then someone walks in. Not the most successful, not the most stylish, but unshaken. She laughs out loud. She hugs people like she means it. She doesn't try to prove anything. And guess what? Everyone notices her. Because confidence isn't loud. It's undeniable. Imagine this in a relationship setting. You walk into your partner's family gathering. New faces, all eyes on you. And in that moment, you have two options. Shrink or shine. You can try to impress them by being who they want, or you can just be you, gracious, grounded, glowing in your authenticity. That energy, that's unforgettable. Because belonging isn't about their approval. It's about your acceptance of yourself. Let's talk about airports. Ever seen someone walk into the business class lounge like they were born there? They may not even be rich, but they walk like they earned every inch of space they occupy. It's not about the ticket, it's about the mindset. They walk like wherever I am, I deserve to be. And people treat them that way. Because the world reflects what you project. And here's the wild truth. Even if you don't belong in the room, walk in like you do, and the room won't question it. The room will adjust. The energy will bend. Because confidence is contagious, magnetic, unshakable. It doesn't ask for the spotlight, it becomes it. You weren't born to be a background character in your own life. So walk into that meeting. Walk into that wedding. Walk into that gym, that restaurant, that life-altering moment with your head held high and your spirit unbreakable. Walk in like your presence is the answer to a question no one knew they needed answered. Because when you believe you belong, you do. That moment when the door slams in your face, it feels personal. It stings. It echoes. You start questioning your worth, your dreams, your entire identity. But here's the truth no one tells you loud enough. Rejection is not a punishment. It's protect. It's not a dead end, it's a detour. And if you have the courage to pause and shift your perspective, you'll realize that no wasn't the end of your story, it was the beginning of a better one. Think about this. You applied for your dream job. You nailed the interview. You stayed up all night, practicing your answers, visualizing the yes. But then comes the email. We regret to inform you. Your heart sinks. You feel like a failure. But what if that very rejection was the universe saying, you're not supposed to work there. You're supposed to own something of your own? What if the heartbreak of that no is what wakes you up to the fact that you were made for more than a 9-to-5 approval? Here's something they don't teach in school. Sometimes not getting what you want is the greatest blessing of your life. Picture this. A woman prepares for months for an audition. It's a big break. She walks into that room, pours her soul out, and gets dismissed like she's invisible. She goes home crushed. But that same pain fuels her to write her own script, direct her own project, tell her own story. And that story becomes her breakout. Because when the world said you're not enough, she said, watch me. Rejection in love? That one's brutal, right? You loved him. You gave him the softest parts of you. And still, he walked away. Left you questioning if you were too much or not enough. But here's what you learn. Sometimes God lets people break you so you can build yourself. That relationship wasn't your forever. It was your lesson. It was the training ground where you learnt your boundaries, your power, your non-negotiables. It taught you what you need, not just what you can give. That's redirection. Even in friendships, it happens. You pour into people who don't show up for you. You're always the one calling, supporting, fixing. But one day, they leave, or worse, they ghost you. It hurts. But suddenly, there's space. Space for people who love like you love. Who show up without being asked. Who speak your name in rooms you're not even in. That's redirection disguised as silence. Imagine a girl applying for a prestigious university only to get rejected. Her world collapses. She questions everything. Her intelligence, her abilities, her future. But in that pain, she decides to travel, to volunteer, to explore. And on that path, she finds her purpose, her tribe, her real calling. If she had gotten into that college, she would have followed someone else's dream. That rejection, that was divine redirection to her real self. You have to understand, rejection is not proof of your inadequacy. It's proof of your potential. The world doesn't reject what's mediocre, it rejects what threatens to rise. And every no is just a filter that clears the way for the one yes that will change everything. Your job is not to chase what rejected you. Your job is to rise so high that what rejected you has to watch you soar from below. Cry if you need to, but don't camp in pain. Get up, wipe your tears, say thank you to the closed door, and keep walking with fire in your eyes. Because you weren't meant to fit into that room. You were meant to build one of your own. Because failure is not the villain, it's the rough draft of your greatness. It's not the end of the story, it's just the chapter where the hero learns who they really are. You don't run from it. You don't cry in the corner hoping it forgets your name. No, you stare it down, head held high, eyes steady, and you say, nice try, but I'm still here. Think about this. A young woman launches her first business. She's passionate. She's prepared. She's poured her savings, her soul, her sleepless nights into it. But it fails. Bills pile up. People whisper. Family members ask her, what's plan B? She doesn't have one. Because plan A was her dream. But instead of collapsing under the weight of shame, she dusts herself off, learns where she went wrong, and tries again. This time, smarter, sharper, stronger, and guess what? On her third try, she builds an empire. Not despite the failure, but because of it. Failure is a test, not of your idea, not of your ability, but of your spirit. Will you give up because the world said no once? Or will you knock again? Louder, bolder, unshakable. That's what separates dreamers from doers. One looks at failure and panics. The other looks at failure and winks. Because she knows it's just a step, not a stop. Let's talk relationships. You gave your all. You showed up. You loved with everything you had. And still, it crumbled. You were left with silence, tears on the pillow, a void you didn't ask for. That feels like failure, doesn't it? But maybe that relationship didn't break you. It revealed you. It showed you how deep your love goes, how strong your heart is, how beautifully you can rise even when you're shattered. You didn't fail at love. You grew through love. And now your standards are higher, your boundaries are clear, and your light untouchable. In college, there's that one exam that knocks you down. You studied, you memorized every detail, but the results say you weren't good enough. That grade doesn't define you. You look at it, you feel the disappointment, and then you wink. Because now you know what needs to be improved. You know how to bounce back. The ones who never fail are the ones who never try. The rest of us, we fail, we fall, but we rise louder. Ever bombed a presentation at work? Forgot your lines? Lost your slides? Watched your audience's eyes glaze over? It's brutal. But next time, you're sharper. You rehearse harder. You connect deeper. And that second chance, you own it. Because the first failure didn't. And it didn't. Because the first failure didn't defeat you. It trained you. Failure is a gym for your character. The more you lift it, the stronger you get. Social media has us believing success is overnight. That people just blow up. What they don't show, the 1,000 times they were ignored. The content that flopped. The rejection emails. The heartbreaks. But behind every spotlight is a person who failed. Spectacularly. And kept going. The one who winked at failure and said, I'm not done yet. That's what you do. You fail, yes, but you don't hide. You don't quit. You don't curse your luck. You face it. You smile with defiance. You wink at it like you're in on a secret. Because deep down, you know this isn't your end. It's your setup. Your rise. Your revolution. Failure doesn't scare you anymore because you know what it really is. A disguised invitation to level up. And your RSVP with a wink. Celebrate yourself louder than anyone else. Because if you're waiting for the world to clap for you before you rise, you'll spend your whole life kneeling. This is your reminder that your validation doesn't live in their applause. It lives in your spine, in your fire, in your knowing. You don't need a standing ovation to stand tall. You need courage. You need self-respect. And above all, you need to become your own loudest cheerleader. Imagine a woman getting ready in front of the mirror, but instead of feeling beautiful, she scans her flaws. Too much here, not enough there. Sound familiar? Society taught her to be humble, to hide her light, to wait for someone else to say she's beautiful before she believes it. But not anymore. Now, she looks into that mirror and says, I am enough. I am art. I am fire. And I don't need your likes to light me up. That's celebrating yourself. Loud, fearless, without waiting for permission. Ever completed a big task at work and no one noticed? You stayed late, fixed the chaos, carried the team, and not even a thank you? You felt invisible. But here's the shift. You start celebrating you. You take yourself out for dinner. You say to yourself, damn, I did that. I handled it. I showed up. That's power. When you stop waiting for credit and start becoming your own celebration, you no longer work for applause. You work for passion. Think about the girl who finally left a toxic relationship. She broke chains she thought would strangle her forever. She didn't just walk away from him. She walked back to herself. And there was no parade, no cheers, no spotlight, just silence. But she lit her own fireworks. She bought herself flowers. She danced in her living room. She said, I made it out and I will never be the same again. That is the kind of celebration that rebuilds a woman from the ground up. There's a student who barely scraped through school. Everyone expected her to fail. But she passed, not with a gold medal, not with straight A's, but with every ounce of grit she had. And while others celebrated the toppers, she celebrated herself. Because only she knows the nights she cried, the times she wanted to quit, the strength it took to keep going. That quiet win, it deserves the loudest celebration. Picture a single mother working 2 jobs, cooking dinner, paying bills, holding everything together while hiding her own tiredness behind a smile. She doesn't get breaks. She doesn't get appreciation posts. But in her heart, she throws herself a party every day. I'm doing this. I'm raising warriors. I am the storm, not the struggle. She knows that waiting for people to recognize her strength would take forever. So she honors it herself. She turns her sacrifices into trophies. Even on the smallest days, the days you choose peace over reacting, the days you show up even when you're anxious, the days you keep promises to yourself. That deserves a loud, unapologetic celebration. Because no one else knows what it took. No one else has lived your chapters, cried your tears, or carried your weight. So celebrate yourself in the mirror, in your journal, in your walk, in your wardrobe. Clap for yourself in rooms where no one else is clapping. Post about your wins even if they seem small. Toast to yourself when others forget you. Laugh louder when life tries to dim your spirit. Be so full of your own light that no silence can darken it. Because when you become your own biggest fan, your glow becomes unshakable. Stop auditioning for love, for worth, for permission. You realize your life is your stage, and you are the main character, the director, and the damn spotlight all in one. You want to know the truth? The only permission you'll ever need to become unstoppable is already inside you. It's been whispering your name in the quiet. It's been nudging you every time you doubted yourself. It's not the world that has to believe in you. It's you, standing in the mirror, daring to look yourself in the eyes and say, I was born for more. Because here's the secret they don't tell you. Your power was never lost. It was only sleeping behind the lies they fed you. Lies that said, you're too loud, you're too much, stay small, wait your turn. But let's break something right now. This is your turn. This is your time. And this life, it doesn't belong to the people who play safe. It belongs to the fire starters, the heartbreak healers, the voice raisers, and the limit breakers. The world may not roll out a red carpet for you, but you build your own runway and strut. You don't beg for seats at tables anymore. You bring your own damn chair. And if there's no space, you build a whole new table. You don't need everyone to love you. You just need to love yourself enough that even in silence, you feel the thunder of your own footsteps. Confidence is not, they will like me. Confidence is, I'll be fine if they don't. Say that again to yourself until it lives in your bloodstream. Because once you know your worth, no one can discount your value. Once you trust your voice, no one can mute your message. And once you fall in love with your own journey, no one can drag you back into a place you've outgrown. You will walk into rooms where no one knows your name and still own the floor like you're the main event. You'll hear no after no and still wake up with the courage to try again. You'll lose people who were never meant for your future, and instead of breaking, you'll bloom. You'll fail spectacularly and still rise beautifully. Because queens don't crumble. They rebuild empires with the stones they're thrown. Let them say you're difficult. Let them say you're too bold, too fierce, too driven, because well-behaved women rarely make history. And you're not here to blend in. You're here to break molds. You're not here to chase validation. You're here to become undeniable. Your confidence will not come from being liked. It will come from knowing deep in your bones that even when the world is silent, your soul still sings. And yes, there will be days you feel like giving up. Days when doubt creeps in like a shadow. But remember this, you didn't come this far to only come this far. There's more strength in you, more voice in you, more magic in you. And when it gets hard, and it will, don't you dare shrink. Don't you dare break into pieces for a world that thrives off your silence. Instead, rise, louder, bolder, fiercer than ever. This is not just a speech. This is your activation, your reminder, your reckoning. So get up, stand tall, wear your name like royalty, speak like the world was made to listen, walk like every step writes a legacy, and love yourself like your soul was handpicked by the universe for a purpose only you can fulfill. You are not a mistake. You are not an afterthought. You are not here to play small. You are here to move mountains, to heal generations, to set standards, to lead revolutions, and to live unapologetically, unfiltered, and unbelievably proud of who you are. Because when a woman finally stops waiting to be chosen